Cradle, Dogs of Fount, Chapter 8. The usual weight of sadness greeted Agatha as it always did when she opened her eyes for the first time in the morning. Carly wasn't here yet, and that was on purpose. Agatha designated this day as the first day of overcoming her limitations. Even grabbing her comforter and pulling it off of herself required massive strength. The blanket wasn't exactly heavy, but her arm had limited range of motion, so by the time the sky blue and white cover was peeled off, she could feel the perspiration starting to build up on her forehead. Sunlight shined directly on her, it seemed, from the window facing the bed. She looked up through it and couldn't see a cloud in the sky. No matter how strong people thought she was, the implications of an injury such as hers left her feeling fiendishly persecuted by life itself. Every time she looked out the window during the day and it wasn't black outside, she took that as a sign to keep going and believing in an end to her disability. However, today the sky may be clear, blue, but she would have no time to notice. She was doing everything by herself. When Carly arrives, Agatha would only require a conversation from her. No putting on socks, turning on the shower, making her cereal. I am not going to just rely on Carly and let the nanobots do everything, she thought. While sitting up and throwing her legs over the edge of the bed, Agatha's muscles spasmed and she cramped incredibly tight in her lower right back. The pain was agonizing, but she wouldn't give it the pleasure of stopping her. She kept a straight face. Inside, it tormented her almost to the point she felt she was having a bad trip. The rest of the morning was a minefield of enduring embarrassment and tolerating pain. The last event was eating breakfast, and it was sincerely enjoyable to Agatha. She skipped the wheat loaves, frosted wheat flakes and little marshmallows, and made bacon and eggs. It took close to half an hour, and she knew she was risking being late for her appointment at the university. It was no matter really because of who she was, Judge Denali's widow. They would see her at any time she arrived. All that was left on the plate was half a bacon strip, bits of egg, and clear grease from the pan. She emptied the plate into the recycled metal trash bin and took it to the sink. She paused to look out the paned window. She could just see above the 7-foot-tall shrub ledge in the sky now with a few large, puffy white clouds. She tried to turn on the faucet, but it didn't budge. She tried again, grabbing it with intent and going white around the knuckles. She tried, but she didn't have any strength left, it seemed. She tried to chuckle, but couldn't manage to put airs on, even to herself. Just then, the front door opened with a crack and a jingle of keys on the ring. "Aggie, you okay in there?" she yelled from the foyer. Agatha shook her head and went to grab her purse and walking canes, which leaned against the gray marble-top kitchen table. "Agatha," Carly remarked in the kitchen doorway with a mildly hurt face. "I'm sorry, Carly. Just thinking about my meeting with Dr. Toby, that's all." Agatha didn't know why she felt so defeated by that faucet. She knew she had so much to be proud of this morning. She literally did everything by herself. Carly would never have let her even try if Agatha didn't hint at doing something drastic if she were stopped. It was like fate was telling her that she was powerless. This is what life was going to be like for 2 years, her physician told her. It would be 2 years before she could speak without fighting just to make out words. It would be 2 whole years before she could move around normally and not look like a marionette. It meant 2 years of suffering while 3 million credits worth of nanobots rebuilt her anew. This time it would be a faucet. The next day it could be a shoelace. Meaningless, inanimate objects could overpower a 46-year-old aristocrat. Carly placed her hand on Agatha's shoulder. "You look pretty. You did this alone, Aggie. You're getting better." Agatha reluctantly put her hand on top of Carly's. It wasn't as if she didn't love Carly. She just had enough of being a cripple, enough sympathy for a lifetime. "Come on, I have the car out front. You don't need to take the bus." "Car? I'm taking the damn bus. That's the biggest part of the day, Agatha explained. Carly frowned while she nodded. She wasn't going to argue. Okay, hurry up or you'll miss it. The breeze kept blowing up her baby blue dress over her hips as she clambered down the sidewalk with her cane. She didn't bother about it though. She felt repulsive. No man wants a gimp. All in all, she felt the walk to the bus stop was rather easy for the fact she kept the momentum up. The stop was 2 blocks away, on the fern-rich corner of Virgil and Rome. It was a famous part of Fount. When there was only one governor in power in the early days of Fount, a man named Walter Henry ran this great city and expanded after the settlement grew due to a new level of skill in farming. Henry used to live in this very astute neighborhood, and since the founding of the great city, it was reserved for people with power and affluence. Walther, being seen as the hope of the future of all civilization, took it upon himself to take away the economic discrimination and open the neighborhood to anyone who could afford one of the mansions or ritzy flats. The silver and blue bus came within 10 minutes after she arrived at the stop. She was faintly amused at how new the bus looked compared to what she remembered. The windows were large and crystal clear. There were chips in the vinyl covering on the outside of the bus. Once she was inside, she saw that the blue fabric on the seats had no stains. She began to think that today might not turn out worse than usual. She decided to sit in the front where the handicapped section was. She looked out the window and thought about what she was going to tell Dr. Toby. It was something that would relieve her consciousness. It was something that would begin to kill that night when she died to her comfortable old life. Some teenagers got on the bus in Lower Clydale, a small affluent nook about an eighth the size of Dearden. They were all boys. The short one in front with the turned-up collar looked at Agatha and stifled a chuckle, and spoke in a low tone to a black-haired kid with a pompadour, all the while looking out at the window in the corner of his eye. Agatha noticed, but she had no worry about a group of spoiled teens. She'd been through too much to be a helpless dame. The 3 boys sat directly in the row behind her. They didn't speak at all for a few moments. "Roy, would you keep your baby if you knew it was going to be a cripple?" They snickered. "I'd probably keep it in the basement. I don't want my house smelling like poop," the teen remarked. Again, the cold laughter. Agatha grunted that one pretty well. She honestly wondered, however, if she deserved this. "Guys, there was this pretty good-looking chick at school that had a cane." "Oh, you're talking about Mary." "Yeah, Mary. She was cool, though." One of the ones that had yet to speak said, I knew her too. The good thing about her is she did stuff with her mouth. She was dirty." They all burst out laughing. "Come on, guys. I probably donated a good amount of nanobots to her. She could have rubbed it on her back or something." It came suddenly. She wanted to start bawling, but she just took a long breath and hunkered down in her head. "Guys, that's mean. Just because she's doesn't mean she doesn't deserve love. You going to date a cripple? I'd rather date you than a pretty boy." Agatha could hear them trading fake blows. They were silent for a few moments, and Agatha thought looking behind her was one of the bravest things she'd done in her life. The kids had moved further back in the bus and seemed to even forget about her totally. Albeit, she still felt like running home to her mother or Carly and crying her eyes out. She'd been out of it all the way up until she walked into Dr. Toby's well-lit, window-walled physician's suite. Agatha could see miles of Dearden stretching out behind the kind-eyed therapist. Dr. Toby was a natural blonde, roughly beautiful with full lips. Agatha always wondered if she was a lesbian, but she did mention she had a long-time boyfriend. "How are you doing?" the doctor asked. I've got a lot." She almost burst into tears, but instead gripped her cane so hard that the pain in her palm disoriented her enough to distract her from the struggles of being handicapped. "I've got a lot on my mind." Dr. Toby wasn't fooled by the lack of tears, and her face was tight with concern. She nodded, making eye contact, and said, "Let it out, Aggie. Don't worry about what I think or anyone else. Tell me, come on, out with it." "I want to start a new life today," Agatha started. "I want to kill this past year and get better. I want to be beautiful again." The tears started streaming, but she spoke on. "I know who shot me and my husband. I caught a clear glimpse of him on the screen before I blacked out. I'm writing this down now. I'm going to make sure he's put under the jail," the doctor said. Agatha laughed, showing her perfectly straight white teeth. She was still crying, but she found humor in this whole morning. "You won't need to write it down. We all know who he is." "What do you mean?" "It was Meade," Agatha said and bit her bottom lip. "The general? Arturo Meade?" Dr. Toby couldn't believe what she was hearing, according to her face. Agatha nodded with fire in her eyes. She felt like hurting someone. She didn't know how she would be able to do it, but she wanted someone to take this pain away by allowing her to hurt them. "I'm going to drive over to the police Smoke was pouring out of the white cylindrical radio on top of the doctor's desk, next to the green potted plant. Toby quickly got out of her seat and pulled the plug from the outlet. The smoke was still rising, but thinned out quickly. It had a medicinal scent, and it tickled Agatha's nose. "That was weird," Toby said, grabbing the radio and looking at it as if she could figure out what went wrong. She looked up at the window and bulged her eyes. "Agatha, are you okay? Your nose is bleeding." Agatha didn't realize it, but she wiped her top lip and saw a good amount of blood on her first two fingers. She began to get nauseous and bent over forward to vomit. She heard the doctor fall to the floor in a fit of coughing. The doctor's private bathroom door opened behind Agatha. Arturo stepped out into the office just as Agatha died. He checked her pulse where she lay on the floor. He nodded. He checked the doctor's and nodded again. He opened her desk drawer located under the middle of it. He picked up the micro tape recorder, and stopped recording. He ejected the cassette and replaced it with a visibly duplicate of it. His nose plugs itched, and he'd been holding his breath for about a minute straight. He had been inoculated, but didn't want to take any chances. He went back into the bathroom and closed the door behind him. The window opened smoothly, even though the hooks from the ladder ran under the bottom of the sill. Arturo was gone long before the women's bodies were found.